All right, make sure it's recording. All right, so what I was gonna do to start is just a little ankle mobility. So I'm gonna come down to the ground and I sort of just grab the back of my knee right here just to relax. And I'm just gonna pull my foot forward, push my toe forward, pull back as far as I can. And I'm just gonna do, 5 to 8 of those. We'll do like 8. Just working the front part of that ankle right there, push it all the way forward, trying to feel a little stretch, try to pull that toe back to the shin. And then once you get that, I'm going to do 5 circles one way, just making a big circle with my big toe. And then I'll do 5 circles the other way. But by the time you finish both like the circles, you want to feel like some tiredness around that in that ankle area. And if you have to, just relax your neck so you don't strain your neck. But we'll do the same thing on the other side. Just nice and slow. Just push that toe forward, pull back. You can sometimes you can hold it a little bit. I'll get 8 of those, and then I'm just my circles, 5 circles one way, 5 circles the other. And then from there, just our basic, the downward dog. So I'm going to do just 5 downward dogs. I'm just thinking about taking a good deep breath up top. So you're going to dig those toes in, drive the hips up, try to get those feet flat to the floor. And when you exhale, I'm thinking about trying to get nice and long with my spine. So without bending my arms, I'm thinking about dropping my shoulders down, getting really long with that spine. And I'll just come back up, drop those knees down, and then back up. You should feel on that exhale, you should be able to get as straight of a spine as you, almost helps you get a little bit straighter. And a little bit longer, but we'll get 5 of those. Feel all that stuff going around the backside. Drive the hips up. Just trying to flow through. And from there, after you get to 5, we're just going to go into our cat-cow. So just our normal. Push the upper back up. Tuck the chin. Drop the chest down. We'll get 5 of those. And then after I finish that, I'm just going to go into some neck rotations. So I'm going to just do my up, downs, left, right. So I'm going to just pull my head back, tuck my chin, and then I'll bring my head back up. And I'm going to look left and right. And we'll get 5 of those. Try to look as far as you can in each position. I try not to move any other part of my body, just my head. Good. And then from there, what we're gonna do is we're gonna just do our Spider-Man lunge Cossack squats. So just transition to a Cossack. So we're gonna step up to the outside, hold for a second, try to get nice and straight with that back leg. And then from there, we're gonna pivot in and try to drop the hips down, hold, and then come back. And we'll do 3 on one side before we switch. So just hold again, and then pivot into that. Try to drop that chest, hips down, keeping the chest up, and then we'll come back. One more. Rock side to side, keep that back leg straight, and then we'll switch and we'll do the same thing on the other side. So I'm just gonna step up, hold, lock that, really extend that back leg, and then pivot. And as I pivot, I'm trying to make sure that this knee isn't falling forward too much. I want to really keep the weight on that heel. That foot should stay flat to the ground. We'll come back in. Pointing that toe up if we can. Pivot back. From there, we're just going to kind of scoot into our 90-90. So just our 90-90 and just our normal, we're going to lean into it. I'm just going to kind of find your position, and I'm going to look opposite the leg that's down and just sort of really sink into that. Make sure you're getting a good stretch in this front hip. Sometimes you might have to play around with where you're at, and I always think I'm trying to go out more with my body. I'm trying to really sink into that stretch. Get about 20 seconds, and then we're just going to get nice and tall and get that. And now I want to feel it in that back outer hip. I'm trying to keep my legs nice and tall. I'm trying to press my knees into the ground and look over the shoulder. And I'll switch. I'll do the same thing on the other side. Same thing, just good 90-90. I'm going to find that position and get that good stretch. And I'll look opposite, the leg that's down. Breathe in 20 seconds, and I'm going to get nice and tall. Grab that back shin, grab my hip. And then from there, we're going to just, once you guys get that back hip, we're going to go into our switches. So just, I'm going to do 5 switches, but we're going to add that hip flexor stretch. So if I'm here, I'm going to roll up, and I'm going to just get nice and tall, and I'm going to almost get that back leg. I'm going to try to squeeze, get a little tension right here in that hip, and then I'll sit back down, and then I'll switch. Come back up, get that back, feel that in that hip flexor, the back leg. So you're kind of just getting a little stretch there, and then you'll sit back down. And we'll switch. And we'll get 5 of those. Up, feel that stretch in the hip flexor, so you're squeezing the butt, driving that hip forward, and then sit back down. Try to open that back leg up first. Try to keep a good posture. Feel your hips kind of controlling the movement. You're not leaning your body forward. Your hips are getting you to 5. So once you get 5 of those, we're going to just come down, start going to the lower body. So I'm going to just use a foam roller. So I'm going to just get kind of inside my lat area right here. And I'm just going to sort of roll. Hi, guys. I'm going to roll back. I'm just going to go back and forth right there. And just, you're searching for that tender spot. Just try to massage that area out. And we'll get about 20 seconds just. Or it could be, somewhere around 8 to 10 rolls, just sort of, and you're kind of going up and down with this. So you can have the foam roller a little bit lower and play around with it. See if you feel anything tender. You can slide it up a little bit and just trying to find that tender, like right there. I feel it. But I'll get that, and then I'll switch, and I'll do the same thing on the other side. Kind of get it inside and just hand behind the head, and I'm just going to sort of roll back and then roll into it. And I want to try to breathe as I come. Even though it's painful, I don't want to. But I get 8 of those. And then it's the last one I was going to use the foam roller. So we're just, this is the only ones that we used with the foam rollers with our upper body. So I was going to do kind of like a half of a Blackburn with this. So I'm going to come down. The key is I'm going to probably like crossball or one of those would work really well too, but you're going to try to find the front part of your shoulder. So I'm going to use this foam roller here, and I'm going to come down and just get a little bit of tension on that right there, so I feel something. And then I'm going to go behind the head and then try to go behind the body. So almost like a half of a Blackburn right here. So I'm keeping that good, getting a little foam roll on the front part of that shoulder, and then I'm going to go behind and then into behind the to low back. So I'll get about 5 to 8 of those, depending on, you know, if it feels really tender for you or not. Then I'm going to do the same thing. A little tricky kind of getting that right. You know, you can kind of use your other arm. Same thing on the other side. Again, 5 to 8 of those. And then we'll be done with the foam roller. And I'm going to, next thing was just like our T-spine thing. So we're going to come down, and what we're going to do is we're going to hold. So this is I'm going to kind of bring my knees up. I'm going to use the arm right here, just kind of keep my legs down. And then this arm, I'm going to sort of reach out nice and far. And we're going to go all the way around. Once we find that position, we're going to take about maybe 5 breaths. So just 5 good breaths, just trying to open the upper back up. So you're here. I'm using my fingertips. I'm reaching out nice and far. I'm trying to sort of just draw on the floor. Keep my fingertips on. I'm keeping this leg down. Once I get as far as I can go, I'm going to rotate my hands. And then sort of look over. And then once you're getting a good stretch, that's when I'll start counting my breaths. So like right now it's pretty tight. So I'm just going to take some breaths, and I'll just sort of keep getting more range if I can. And I'll just come back, and I'll do the same thing on the other side. So I'm going to come down. I'm going to reach out nice and far. And just try to paint my fingers on the floor. Once I get up behind my head, I'm going to sort of rotate. And once you get to your sort of like your end range, that's when you're going to start counting your breaths. And then just slowly, after you get your 5 breaths, you'll just kind of come back. From there, I'm going to go just to our floor slide. So we're going to do come down to the ground, and we'll get about 8 to 10 floor slides. So just some shoulder mobility, overhead mobility, just trying to get your arms, if you can, flat to the ground. You can always kind of control, like you can come out more in a wide position if you need to. But then from there, you're going to try to keep your low back down. And you're going to inhale and exhale as you go press out. And come back, and same thing, try to reset if you have to get that low back down. Key here is keeping that low back down. You should feel stuff going on in your shoulders, and you're trying to keep a neutral position, so we don't want to be all bent like that. So sometimes you got to just play around where your You come out more in a Y position, it'll help. When I'm all the way out too, you can sort of drive in, so you can keeping your low back down, you can sort of drive into the ground, create a little tension, and then pull back. Pull those arms in. Keeping that low back down. I'm just like listening to my body. You know, I always imagine like if we're holding a weight and pressing something over our head, you know, I look at myself and I'm like, oh, well, I see myself on the floor right here with no weight and I'm arching my back. So it's kind of a, it's a sign to me that I got to be careful if I'm doing overhead pressing, because you can see that I'm compensating with my low back, and sometimes that's where low back issues can come into. All right. This next one, I kind of like this. So this is like it's a push-up plus. I'll kind of show it to you guys and then I'll have you guys do it. But what you're going to do is I want you guys just to think about two things. So push-up plus is a push-up position. And I think this is just real important from the standpoint of how we start push-ups. We always want to start, if you guys watch me, I'm dropping down. So I'm thinking about bringing my shoulder blades together, but I'm not bending my arms at all. Sometimes we start push-ups and people kind of will start bending the elbows first, where I want to start here and then come down into my push-ups. So what I want us to think about, so I think it's a good teaching tool for like doing a push-up correctly. The other thing is it's going to get a good stretch. So we're going to do 8 of these where I'm going to pull my shoulder blades together without bending my elbows. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up, I'm going to try to pull the floor apart. So I'm trying to pull that floor apart. And we're just going to do 8 of those push-up pluses. So bring the shoulder blades together, squeeze, pull apart as you come back up. We drop down, pull those shoulder blades together, pull apart as you come up, and really use that tension to try to drive apart. We're going to do 8 of those. And I want you to think too, when you're pulling it apart, I want you to try to think about feeling it in your lats a little bit. So, you know, again, it's, for me, the push-ups, I think taking a little bit of stress off the shoulders and getting other muscles to kind of come into play is what's going to protect the shoulders more. So I'm dropping down, pinching those shoulders together, pulling apart. Really trying to pull that ground apart. Okay, 8 of those. And then the last thing you guys can use, I was going to use like just a light kettlebell. Don't have to use a weight. For me, it's more about just the rolling pattern, but I was just going to do the quarter get up. So quarter get up is just rolling onto the forearms. Again, you can use a dumbbell or a kettlebell, but I'm going to do 8 to 10 per side. So I'm going to come here. I'm going to get set, and I'm going to roll here. And I want to think about, see my chest facing you guys. I'm trying to not sit up. I'm trying to push off with this leg, pull with this arm, and I want to keep this leg from moving. I'm just going to do 8 of those, just nice and slow. Roll back. Control as I'm rolling. And I'm focused on just a nice smooth roll. I'll get maybe 8 and then 8 the other way. I just think this rolling pattern is important. We'll probably do this every day, getting out of bed. How many people actually struggle with this rolling pattern because they're kind of using their low back more? So I want us to really think about using our hips. You're pushing that. You're turning your hips. and then we'll get the other side. Anyone ever says like, to me, like what the key to low back pain, or how do you fix it? It's using your hips. If you can use your hips more, the less likely you're going to have pain in your low back. So I can feel it. I almost want you guys to feel. Sometimes you have to go light with it, but feel your hips. So right now my hips are facing the ceiling, and I'm using this foot to sort of push, and then my hips are kind of turning. I'm not really thinking too much about my upper body, even though my upper body's facing, my upper body's turning. Upper body's just being led by my hips. But we'll get 8 of those. And the key too is, we're thinking about, there's a lot of stuff going on. We're kind of using this bent leg and that hip to sort of turn to get us into that position, which is important to be able to get in that rolling pattern. But then we got to stabilize with this hip so it's not all moving around. So there's a little bit of hip stability on the other side that's just really important too as far as back pain. So it's hip mobility to be able to use our hips, and then stability, kind of can we maintain that? So there's a lot of good stuff with that. It's really, for as simple of a pattern as it is, it's really, I find it an important movement. So, all right, guys, that's it. Thanks for joining me. Get you guys off.
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks, Matt.
You guys.
Thank you.
All right, guys. I'll talk to you guys later.
Have a good day.
Have a good day.